You're listening to the Outer Banks This Week podcast, a place for people to hear what's going on up and down the beach and to get the truth about what really goes on around the Outer Banks. So, are you ready? Here we go.
All right, thank you so much, Wes. Outer Banks This Week podcast, episode number 101. And hey, one thing I'm really excited about is I don't have just one sponsored by podcast. I have two sponsored by, and it's all brought to you by, hey, you've heard it before, Kelly's Automotive in Manio. Yes, indeed, Kelly came back. I was like, hey, Kelly, man, your sponsorship ran out. What you going to do? And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know what he's like. You got to sell me on it. And I was able to do it. He's just a good dude. And he was like, man, look, I got you. And then I was able to also get another sponsor other than Kelly's Automotive. I've got Outer Banks Pest Control. Welcome, Outer Banks Pest Control, to the Outer Banks This Week podcast. So those of you that don't know or may not know, so Kelly at Kelly's Automotive, his name's Kelly Midget. He owns Kelly's Automotive. Well, Jesse Midget runs Outer Banks Pest Control. Now, who is Jesse Midget? Jesse is Kelly's wife. They're like the business power couple here on Roanoke Island and in Manio. And you talk about two super phenomenal folks that are ready to go to work for you. They will go to work for you. Okay? Again, Kelly, I mean, he's ready to put you in a car. He's ready to get you a shed, whatever the case may be. He's ready to go to work for you. And over at Outer Banks Pest Control with Jessie, she's ready to go to work for you too, but she's ready to get somebody out there to help you with any sort of varmint needs that you may have. You can call her 252-473-1633 or go online to outerbanks-pestcontrol.com. Brought to you by Kelly's Automotive, powered by Outer Banks Pest Control is the Outer Banks This Week podcast. Very proud to have them both on. Very happy that they chose to invest in this as an opportunity to just put their name out there a little bit more. Very, very happy to have them. And I'm telling you, soon enough, sometime in the near future, I'm going to have them on the podcast to just let them play off of each other. You know, it'll be fun. And again, one of the sweetest people in the world, Miss Jessie, and one of the other sweetest people in the world, Mr. Kelly Midget. Did I just call him sweet? He's a sweet guy. Anyway, again, online at kellysobxauto.com and outerbanks-pestcontrol.com. Yeah, hey, we're 101 episodes deep. I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking on this podcast because the interview that I did with Watermen United group down in Hatteras Village, we were able to use Sticky Bottom Oyster Company as a place to do the interview. Thank you, Mary Ellen Balance. It's got a lot of details in it, a lot of info, a lot of good information. So not going to spend a whole lot of time talking just me right now. We're going to jump right into that here in just a few moments. I do appreciate Woody Joyner and Miss Mary Ellen and Rachel Bibby for being on the podcast. Like I said, going to get to them in just a moment. Hey, this past week, though, just real quick, the DEF event that took place at 108 Budley, the signature event with dueling pianos, was phenomenal. It sold out right there at the very last minute. Everybody had a ball. I want to thank all those that were involved with the process and putting it on and just partying with everybody. It was a great, great time. Did the groundhog see his shadow over the weekend? I don't remember. I think he did. Like, how many times? I think he sees his shadow more often than not. So I think we got, 6 more weeks of winter? I don't know. I watch that stuff. I listen to that stuff, but I don't really pay attention to it because here on the Outer Banks, we're built different on the Outer Banks. We're built different, bro. We're built different. So, yeah, I mean, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I know that isn't there like a Chesapeake Chuck? I feel like staff meteorologist or chief meteorologist. Oh, shoot, what's his name? I'm looking at the guy right now. He's on Wavy 10 in the mornings. I just had his name. It'll come to me in a minute, but he talks about Chesapeake Chuck around this time of the year. But I don't know what Chesapeake Chuck saw either. I want to thank Zach Alexander, Coach Zach Alexander from Manio High School, to talking about the baseball team and the things. I got a big black and gold day coming up, I believe, on February 22nd from 10 to 3 at Manio High School. It's open to the public to come out, see the kids, meet the ball players, meet the team, and it's just a big family fun event. So if you want to come out and participate in that, that would be a great time. Just revert back to the last podcast. Take a listen to it if you haven't already. And I believe I put the event information in the description. Trying to think about news. I really can't think of any that's jumping off the page at me right now. Honestly, I will tell you, though, for all the latest and greatest in the world of news on the Outer Banks, you're going to want to go to samwalkerobxnews.com. This Saturday, you're going to want to go ahead and mark your calendars for this coming Saturday. We are launching the first Captain Marty Super Show. Okay, the Captain Marty Saturday Super Show taking place this coming Saturday. It'll drop at about 6 o'clock in the morning on Captain Marty's channel. If you haven't subscribed to Captain Marty's channel on all your major podcast platforms, please do so. Just search Captain Marty. Bada bing, bada boom. There he is. You see the billfish coming up out of the water. That is his logo. Click on that and click subscribe. We're bringing back the Saturday show that he used to have on local FM radio so you can hear it right there on his podcast channel. The beautiful thing about it is it can be listened to anytime. I want to thank Red Drum Tackle down in Buxton for being the presenting sponsor for that show. Thank you to Mr. Anthony and the fine folks down at Red Drum Tackle. And Miss Kim, sorry, I forgot Miss Kim. I do apologize for that, for being the sponsors of the presenting sponsor of Captain Marty for his super show on Saturday. Also want to thank Radcliffe Marine for being a Powered By sponsor. Fantastic folks at Radcliffe Marine in Bellhaven. And when they knew that Marty was going to be relaunching his Saturday show, they wanted a piece of it. I want to thank Teachers Lair Marina for jumping on board with it. Lots of great people. And hey, if you want a piece of the captain, let me know. Justin at OuterBanksThisWeek.com. All right, we're going to skip shout outs this week. I know I've got some. I didn't write them down, and I should have, but we're going to skip that this week, and we're going to go right into the interview with Mr. Woody Joyner, Miss Mary Ellen Balance, and Rachel Bibby of Watermen United to talk about what they do to help local fishermen here on the Outer Banks and their way of life and to maintain that. A lot of good information coming at you. But first, let's quick word from our new friends from Rigged Up Sport Fishing. It's time to get rigged up to go fishing, and at Rigged Up Sport Fishing Charters out of the Oregon Inlet Fishing Center, that's exactly what they do best. This 55-foot Omi Tillet built boat with that Carolina flair, known for tournament wins, is fully equipped with the latest sonar technology, along with two of the most knowledgeable captain-mate combos in the fleet that practically know what the fish are thinking. Hop aboard with them today by going online at riggedupcharters.com. Rigged Up Sport Fishing Charters. Let's go fishing. All right, I've made my way down here to Hatteras Village, as I said I was going to. And I'm sitting here with Mr. Woody Joyner. I called him Wally earlier, and that was a baseball player. A little mistake there. And Miss Mary Ellen Bounce of Watermen United. Okay, Watermen United is a group that is founded on trying to make sure that our fishermen can stay fishing and that the laws and regulations that are constantly seem like they're tightening down on things, they get that pushback that they need in order to keep our fish. I mean, we thrived on fishing 100 years ago. That was the primary industry on the Outer Banks, was fishing. Now it's not quite as prevalent as it was or whatnot, but at the same time, the laws are really try to tighten up on things to keep people that have, centuries, decades, generations of fishermen from being able to do their job. And is that an accurate description, Mr. Woody, of what I'm saying right now in regards to Watermen United as a group?
Justin, I think you're exactly right. You've definitely hit it right on the head. It's a lot of different factors come into this, but this is exactly where we stand as far as our watermen not being able to carry on a very rich tradition.
It used to be when you could fish one fishery year-round and make enough to keep a roof over your head and food on your table. And with the regulations and the restrictions that are being put on our fishermen and our coastal communities, now they're having to change their gear, change their fishery because of all of this. And what that does is add more expense because there's different net for different fisheries and all these different things that come into play. So it's just a constant strangling of our coastal communities, not just fishermen, but your tackle shops, your rope shops, your everything. I mean, it just snowballs.
Right. Well, it should be noted, we're going to quick mention to Miss Rachel, who came in the door a moment ago. We'll get her on the mic in a little bit. I like to hear her take on lots of things. I may refer to her as Rachel number 1, just for reference purposes. That's a little inside joke. I'm sorry. But let's start from the beginning here, y'all. Like, how did North Carolina Watermen get its start?
Right.
Let's talk about that.
Well, we are getting close to our 40th anniversary.
Okay.
And we're proud to say that we've been doing this and representing the hardworking men and women who earn a living on the water. There was legislation proposed in North Carolina that would require all anglers on a charter for hire or headboat to have a coastal recreational fishing license.
Okay.
Now, you can easily imagine the time and the energy wasted by all the people getting on the boats to go to a single desk at a marina to buy this license, and you can equate that right to loss of time on the water. Now, a group of concerned charter for hire captains in Dare and Carteret counties united to oppose the legislation, knowing that this would have such a negative impact on their livelihoods. Now, through their diligence and perseverance, the proposal was changed to allow for a blanket license held by the operator that covers all the anglers on board. Now, these forward-thinking captains realized that there were many other issues facing the charter for hire and commercial sectors, so they formed the Watermen United. Now, what's really kind of unique is we still have members on our board of directors that were part of that original effort.
No kidding.
So if you look at the diversity on our board of directors, we have charter for hire, headboat, commercial, longliners, and oyster aquaculture sectors represented. So we really take in the whole gamut. And when we say, we talk a lot about being concentrating on charter for hire and commercial, but I have to take a moment and say we also represent the recreational fishermen.
Okay.
We want to make sure that the recreational fisherman who comes to our coastal communities, who was doing this to have fun, to take some fish back home, things of that nature, they have the ability to harvest this public trust out of the waters of North Carolina.
Right.
And the misconception that commercial fishermen do not want to see recreational fishermen not be allowed to fish.
True.
It's a huge misconception.
Mm-hmm.
Commercial fishermen are some of your most avid conservationists out like there. We're there every day. We're doing the work, and they're on the water and they see what they see. But we don't want them to not be able to catch a fish and go fishing with their grandchildren and that kind of stuff. The heritage of it goes deeper than making a living doing it.
Amen. So, kind of give me an idea of what is the goal of Watermen United right now?
Well, right now we've had a few things coming up with logging. There was a situation up near Maine, wasn't it, Woody? That they used the Chevron Act to stop.
Okay.
They were gonna force people to have to purchase equipment to put on their boat to watch what they were doing, cameras, things like that. Those kind of, and they were able to stop it, and with the Chevron Act, because these commercial fishermen were going to have to pay for this stuff, $15,000 to $20,000 to be able to be navigating, watching what they're doing. There's just like with the charter fishermen and having to log things, all of that, and now there's a Flounder Amendment 4 that's come back up. So Flounder Amendment 3 just cut us off at the knees, and now they want to, cut us off again. All of these things takes time and it takes money. Fishermen are fishing. They're fishing or they're mending their nets. So as a board, most of the people on the board are fishermen. During the day, it's hard for them to do stuff. So what North Carolina Watermen United does is we have a membership director. We have someone that, we handle. Woody handles a lot of the stuff going on behind the scenes. And we go to the meetings and we meet with legislators and we talk with people that can help us navigate this to try to ease up that burden, that legislative burden that's put on commercial fishermen.
Okay. Now, one thing I read, I was on your website, which is ncwu.net. Is that correct? I think I said that right. So I was looking at the website. Y'all recently, I say recently, I can't remember the date exactly, but just did a Hyde County waterfowl. Y'all cooked for them. You did something because there was some
legislative dinner.
That's what it was. Now,
Right.
that was a kind of a way you were able to kind of get in front of some of the individuals that are steering the ship in a way, I guess.
Yes, and we used to do a big dinner out in Raleigh. NCFA and NCWU, we used to partner. We used to work together, and actually NCWU started that quite a few years ago, where we would go out to Raleigh and we would do a big dinner for all the legislators. They would bring their assistants and all that, but found that it was quite cumbersome, and then COVID hit where we couldn't do it, and so we were asked to do this legislative duck hunt. And I'll let you, Woody, kind of.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate that the Watermen made contact over 4 years ago, a couple of months before it was coming up. It's always held in January down in Hyde County, and we jumped at the opportunity to cater the event, to partner with the folks that were the sponsors, so that we would have a really unique opportunity for our board of directors to be in a very casual environment and speak to our representatives in Raleigh. And these are just coastal counties, but all the way through the Piedmont and up into the mountain region.
Very good. Very good. I was
Right.
going to say the coastal, I feel like they understand it better.
Bobby and Ed Goodwin and those guys, they've been very good
Very
in
cool.
helping us navigate this.
Very cool. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
and,
sorry. I didn't mean to.
yeah. No, and after 4 years, a couple of legislators have come every year because they dine one evening and everybody get up the next morning and they go on an organized duck hunt. So it's essentially billed as a legislative dinner and duck hunt. So it's a kind of two things in one. But when we can do this after 4 years, we've got some great liaisons now in Raleigh, that people who actually answer an email, actually pick up the phone and give us a call back. Because folks who aren't on the coastal counties, just as both of you said, they are not aware of what our fishermen face on a day-to-day basis. They are not aware of the restrictive legislation and regulations that come down the pike that we just don't feel like is neither fair nor equitable. So we can pass that along with them. And meeting them in that really casual environment is a very different tone than when I sit in front of them at their desk in Raleigh on Salisbury Street or on Lane Street. Because when you go in and you sit down, and unfortunately their time is so tight that a lot of times they're looking at their watch rather than you to get it done.
Right.
But here you really have them for an extended period of time, and you can really get things done.
Excellent. And that's really cool that you're able to get in front of them in that way, because it's like you said, they're, in a way, their guard is down. It is a more relaxed environment, and you're able to kind of talk to them like you're not being interviewed or pressed or interrogated. It's more or less like, hey, man, check this out. So here's some of the things that we're dealing with.
Well, and the other side of that is it also gives us the opportunity to build a relationship with them that's a little more personal, so that if they're in Raleigh and something comes across their desk that they have a question at, now they're like, oh, I'm going to call Woody. He, I had a chance to talk to him. I think he knows something about this. I want to know more. And so it starts that conversation where you have a seat at the table to give them information that's like current, up to date, legitimate, like hands on.
Oh, absolutely. That's very cool. Very cool. All right. Let me ask you this now. So it's pretty important. I'm guessing it's fairly important to continue the success of the professional waterman. That's a good guess. Yes, that's a good, accurate statement.
Not just the watermen, the tackle shops, the restaurants, everybody
Tackle
else.
shops, restaurants. Yeah, because I mean, it is a chain effect. I actually was at a local tackle shop earlier, talking about some business stuff, and I told them that I was doing this podcast today, and they were very overjoyed.
Good.
That we were doing this and raising some awareness, and very excited that this was happening. So yeah, like to your point, it does. I mean, it's important.
Let us know who they are so we can send them a member packet.
Okay. But yeah, so it's fairly important. Is that safe to say, Mr. Woody?
I think it's vital to keep the professional fishermen on the water. What bothers me sometimes is when I read that 97% of all the seafood that's consumed in the United States is imported.
Oh, no, you didn't just say that.
97%.
True.
Now,
seriously? Shut the front door.
Lock it with a deadbolt. I
Yeah.
absolutely promise you, it's the truth.
So
You hear that? She
I
said
just
lock
read
it with a
something
deadbolt.
in a local press that almost 3 million people visited the Cape Hatteras National Seashore. So that's going to be Hatteras Island last year.
Right, yeah.
So that's an awful lot of people. Now, if you're coming from out of state or from the western part of North Carolina, even the Piedmont, when you come here, you're going to want to enjoy fresh seafood. That's one of the things that you really want to do while you're here. Unfortunately, what they happen is most of the time you're not consuming locally caught seafood. Now, this is imported. Mostly it's coming from areas that they have no fishing regulations on keeping the population of the fish intact. They have no regulations helping the well-being and the safety of the workers. And most importantly, they have no health regulations as far as how is it stored? Are there any chemicals in it? How is it transported? Any of that stuff, that is not taken care of when it hits our shores. But if it's harvested here in North Carolina, as Mary Ellen said, we support all of the businesses that support the fishing industry. So when you're talking about not being on the water, it's just not the captain and the crew and their family, but the multi-generational small business owners that rely on this tourist dollars to keep their business going.
Of course. Wow. So let me ask you this side question. Would you encourage people when they come into town on vacation to ask for locally caught North Carolina seafood if that is something that is served at these specific restaurants or at these markets? Is that accurate?
So yes, and there are restaurants up the on the Outer Banks that are focused on that and that make that a priority. But not every restaurant is, because of the regulation, even able to make it a priority.
Right.
Like I'll just use Lone Cedar as an example.
That's who came to my mind.
And O'Neill's and
Sea Harvest.
Sea Harvest, they have a restaurant.
Yes.
But they also have a fish house.
Yep.
Lone Cedar does the same thing. They have their own cut house. They have a dealer license and they do that. Mulligan's, I believe they have locally sourced food. Of course, Sugar Shack. Irvin does it.
Yes.
So Tail of the Whale. There's a lot of them. Blue Water at Pirates Cove. There are quite a few restaurants that make that a priority, but not all restaurants are able to make it a priority because
it's important you say it that way. I like the way you said that because that's very true. It's not that they don't want it to. It's just there's regulations.
They have to have a dealer license, so they have to be able to show that they purchased it from, and they have to collect and turn in a trip ticket, and they have to do there's a lot of stuff that makes it. And if you're not connected at some level to that industry, on the backside of that industry, it makes it challenging.
So I guess in a way, one of the goals of Watermen United is to make that in a way like, hey, look, you should be able to go and get as you please and not have to worry about being told you can't.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And not just here, to reiterate that, we're talking for the whole state of North Carolina
and for
the United States in particular. But when, a lot of times when we talk about the watermen, when we talk about North Carolina, they deserve the right to be able to buy fresh seafood. Now,
Amen.
Here, like Mary Ellen said, the restaurants here in Hatteras Village where we are, they get daily deliveries from the two fish houses here. But this is a unique environment for them. It's more expensive. You run out of it very quickly. So if you've got a very, very large restaurant that handles a lot of folks, it's almost, like she said, it's almost an impossibility to serve all locally harvested seafood.
Well, you also have to have the ability to store it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a couple of different factors there that I guess that have to be considered.
But some of the questions people when they come here or wherever they go, there's questions you can ask. And some of those questions are, is it U.S. wild caught?
Okay.
Is it fresh or frozen?
Okay.
Like those are like when you go to the grocery store and you look and it says Chilean sea bass or whatever. Yeah. But you can see.
I always thought that was a spice.
Yeah.
It's got the Chilean spice on it. I really did. For the longest time, I thought when it said Chilean sea bass,
Chile.
it was some sort of exotic spice.
Yeah. But you can ask those questions, and you should always want U.S. wild caught.
U.S. wild caught. There we go. Rachel, you've sat there very quiet. Oh. Love Rachel. You care to weigh in a little bit? Give us your 2 cents?
Well, I mean,
a little bit closer now. The thing ain't gonna bite you.
Clearly, getting fresh seafood is very huge here. This is like most people's livelihood. I grew up on a commercial boat. My dad ran a charter boat in the summertime, head boat, and then he commercial fished in the winter. And I used to commercial fish in the winter as well. But now I help run a seafood market. And
okay.
So
You got a great perspective here.
Yeah, and we get as fresh as we can, and it's hard, with the seasons and everything. I mean, red drum, we fly through it, but we can only get so much,
Of course.
But one of the biggest things that I think is really funny, actually, is snapper.
Snapper.
The people that come in asking for red snapper.
Really?
And we're not going to get snapper from somewhere else. That's just not going to happen.
No.
But we had it for 3 days this year, I think, when we had our 2-day season.
Yeah, I was going to say, that season was really short, wasn't it?
We flew through it, and then people were coming in. I'm like, look, we can't get it, And
Wow.
But these people don't understand, like what he said. They are out. It's really easy to say that you want to conserve the fish population, and seeing it not living here. And then it's like he says, they come on vacation and they demand fresh seafood. And I'm sorry, we can't get this for you because it's out of season,
Right.
People don't understand the trickle effect that all these regulations have on businesses.
Well, and that's kind of the idea today, just trying to raise that awareness because people need to understand these things. There's so much, I don't want to call it ignorance because that just sounds like a dirty word, but just lack of knowledge in that regard. So
and lack of understanding of what all that means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mr. Woody, how does Watermen United approach state agencies to help our fishermen? How do they do that?
Well, we try to be the political voice for the folks on the water. And now through the political action and through community involvement, we strive to ensure that the viability of these sectors are long-going, that they're not going to stop. Now, and when we approach a state agency, and I dare say I could sit here and rattle off for an hour things that have gone against us in the 4 years I have been here. But I will say this, that I think all of us appreciate the difficult task that the North Carolina Department of Marine Fisheries has in trying to balance the biomass of a particular species while hopefully is the key word here, looking after the fishermen and their families at the same time. Now, if there's one thing that I would like to see a change of when they sit down and make these rules is that when they consider not just the fish, and I'm just going to call it not fishery, just the fish, understand the fishery. The fishery is not just the gentleman who caught it. Like Rachel's dad being out there on a charter boat or a head boat or commercial fishing. It's not to him. It's the company that manufactured the boat. It's a company that manufactured the nets. It's the seafood house that you bring the seafood to. It's the young man that's cleaning it. It's the driver that takes it to the restaurant. It's the restaurant. That's the fishery. A fish is what's swimming in the ocean. As soon as it's hooked, the whole thing becomes a fishery. And I think when you make these rules, you need to understand that broad point. Now, I'll say the same thing for federal agencies. Now, the Magnuson-Stevenson Act, which was huge, was formulated in 1976, and that put the burden on federal agencies to maintain a healthy fish population. Now, in that same act, it says that you also have to look after the citizenry of those communities so they're not as adversely affected by those same regulations. So you've got to look after just not the fish itself. You've got to look after everything that comes behind it.
See, and again, that's something that people really don't think about. Like you were talking about the boat manufacturer, the people that made the nets, the drivers, the restaurant. I mean, it is a huge trickle effect from, separating the fish from the fishery. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
You think about when you take a fish to the dock and that fisherman gets paid $1.20 a pound for sea bass,
right? Okay.
Or for flounder, they get paid $3 or $4 for a flounder, and then they go to the grocery store and they go by the seafood section and they see that flounder in there for $16 a pound.
Gee, many Christmas.
Think about that.
That's wow. Wow.
They get paid at the dock $1, $2 for a fish, a pound, and then they go to the store and they see an imported fish at this, but they see a U.S. wild caught fish, and they're getting pennies for what they're getting at the stores. So that just goes to show you how many people have to make money off that one fish before it gets to the consumer.
Outrageous. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
Wow. So there's some different legislation out there right now. There's different pieces of legislation that's out there right now that y'all have been working on, tackling, trying to overcome and push back against. Is anything out there right now, or has there been some things that we've been successful in being able to combat?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I'll let you go first, and I'll go second.
Uh-oh.
I've got the one thing that I know that we were able to pull off. So.
Okay. All right, cool.
Well, we hit a lot of brick walls along the way.
Right.
And one of the things, and I wanted to kind of pop in on the last question on this, but one of the things that we're challenged with is, so you have the Division of Marine Fisheries, and they have a whole scientist who they bring their data.
Right.
And then you have these fishermen that are on the water every day, and they see what they see. What they see doesn't match this data. There's a disconnect there that until I wish sometimes the bureaucracy could get out of the way and the rules could get out of the way and the scientists and the people that are pulling all that data could sit down without a public comment, without a public comment period at a meeting or whatever, and talk to the guys that are out there doing it. And talk about why, because if you ask any commercial fisherman when they start talking about their data, they'll say, that's not right. That's not right. That's not what we see. I've seen it as a pound netter.
Right.
They tell us that they'll tell me there's no flounder out there, and we pulled 40 boxes out of one net.
Wait a minute. Back up a little bit. Mary Ellen,
Yes.
the pound netter with beautiful nails like what you have. You're out there fishing pound nets.
Yes, I love to fish
seen
pound
it.
net.
Hey, look, Rachel, seconded by Rachel. Okay.
Yeah, it's
got
one
it.
of my. It's pound netting is one of the most sustainable and operational fisheries. That's part of where they're getting their data.
Okay. Definition, pound netting. Can you describe what pound netting is for somebody that may not know?
Okay, just like a horse pound.
Okay.
A horse pound is a square where
Yes.
it's just where you keep your horses.
Yes.
Okay. Same concept.
Okay.
There's a square net out in the water.
Okay.
It's got a fence lead that
Okay.
comes from it, just for not getting into hearts and all the other
Right,
stuff.
yes.
But it has a tunnel in the front of that net that has a lead that comes off of it. And that tunnel is suspended off the bottom by a rope by about 2 feet.
Okay.
So when the flounder swim in there, they drop off that opening and they swim around in the bottom. So everything you catch in a pound net is caught live.
Right.
And so there's no bycatch. You
Okay.
throw anything that's like too small or too big or not in season or whatever, you throw that, it goes back in the water live.
Right.
It's not.
I wanted people to understand exactly what that was.
So what they'll call us. We get called all the time at the end of pound net season. Will you leave your nets out? We want to tag some flounder, or we want to measure this, and we want to see this. So pound netting is a way to responsibly
Yeah.
monitor and look at and measure fish without damaging them with they're released live.
Okay.
So when you go into a pound net, you never know what you're going to see. I've seen all kinds of things. It's like
Okay.
Christmas morning. Every time you go out there, you never know what you're going to see.
Oh, very nice.
It's like an aquarium.
Like an aquarium, Rachel
it's
says.
awesome. And so to be able to sit down with someone who sees what they see every day compared to what these numbers are and realize that there has to be a way to meet in the middle there and come up with some logical, common sense solutions that don't require cutting people off at the knees and completely taking away their livelihood in a 3-month period when Marine Fishery Commission decides, okay, we got to stop this. We're just going to make this go away right now. And and then on top of it, you have the in-state waters that are regulated by the state.
Uh-huh.
Then you have the AMMFC, which is regulated by the feds. So you have the National Marine Fishery Commission, or whatever. What do they call it? South Atlantic Marine Fishery Commission.
South
Okay.
Atlantic and,
So-
and then you have the Mid-Atlantic.
Mid-Atlantic, North. So they regulate different. Okay, so let's take flounder.
Okay.
You're going to get me on a roll. Flounder, they spawn in the ocean, right?
Right. Okay.
And then they come into the sound.
Okay.
They come into our sound waters.
Okay.
So at the time that they are cutting us off and saying you can't fish anymore, out in the ocean, the trawlers are allowed to catch more. At the same exact time, yes.
Yes.
So let me tell you what happens then. Now, you've got a higher, you can catch more out in the Atlantic, less out in here, but it all meets at the dock at the same time. And guess what happens? Price plummets. So now this flounder fishery that you used to get $3 and $4 a pound for, you're lucky to get $1.75.
Holy
So you just
smokes.
cut every flounder fisherman all up and down the East Coast of North Carolina. You've just cut their income in half with one
Christmas.
proclamation to allow trawlers to catch more flounder out in the ocean. So the feds and the state are not talking to each other.
See, that's freaking wild.
And
to
all
me.
that would require is to say, okay, you can catch, you set dates where when the inshore is catching, they can't out there, and vice versa. But you're blaming all of it on what's being caught in the sound.
Right.
We're being punished. Well, it feels like a punishment,
Right, I got
whether
you.
we're being punished or not. It
That's
feels
just,
like we're being
That's just
punished.
an idea of something that
Doesn't make sense.
That you're constantly fighting in
Yes.
legislation. That's just an example of something that you're constantly running up against.
And I know that's kind of a convoluted explanation. But.
That's okay. No, but it was a good one. It was good. It was very good.
But what Mary Ellen was just saying about the flounder also holds true to 15 other species. Like what we're looking at right now are sea trout. Of course, there was a proclamation a week or so ago on coal-stunned sea trout. So the harvest is stopped until they can examine it more and figure out how many died, why they died, and see if we can crank it back up. We can only catch 1 or 2 a day anyway. This even further restricts it. The same thing happens with, like with the red snapper. There's a federal regulation coming in now that the South Atlantic was sued by a couple of folks here in the South that essentially said, you were supposed to take care of the red snapper population, and we don't feel like you've taken care of it, so we're going to draw suit. Now, the suit was a federal suit, so it went to NOAA. Now, if you look at the red snapper, they will probably close areas to maintain the population when they don't have, as Mary Ellen said, they don't have the numbers to back up. What is the biomass like for red snapper
Right.
that? I think Rachel made a perfect count. 3-day season,
Yeah.
and what are we doing to promote the population? But when you start shutting down sectors, and we're talking hundreds of square miles all up and down the eastern seaboard in every state, if they take this, and I think Mary Ellen would agree with me, once they take it, it never comes back. Now, just for example, with red snapper, they closed off an area called the Mayfair area off of the coast of Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
About 25 square miles. And they said, we're just going to close this down temporarily. That was 10 years ago. Now you can't fish there, but people go there to spearfish because it's shooting fish in a barrel. There are so many of them that it doesn't require a whole lot of skill when you spearfish to get these. But the federal government never gave this back, the Mayfair area, back to Florida. So once it goes, it's gone. Once a regulation comes, it stays, unless there's a huge proclamation to go the difference. I haven't seen one come back in the short 4 years that I've been here.
Red drum.
Yeah.
They took away red drum. They regulated it to what you can have.
You can have, I think, 7 in a net slot size.
Say it again.
When I think last year, from what I knew, it was like you could keep 7
Okay.
commercially a day and then 1 recreationally per fishing license.
Okay.
And if you get one commercially, you can take 7, but you have to have a bycatch. So if I had 7 in the pound net, so if 7 drum swam in the pound net, I could keep that 7 because I had a bycatch of flounder. But if I couldn't just bring 7 drum to the dock.
Right.
You have to have a bycatch with it.
Okay.
And
There
then also
are
there's
so many drum around.
Yes.
The drum population is like on fire.
It's insane.
They eat all the crabs, like they eat all the crustaceans. The crab population. We used to have crabbers. I used to work at Teach's Lair Marina, and we had crabbers come out of there every winter, fall, or early spring, whatever. And I have not seen crabbers down here in years.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And the thing with the red drum here, like they said, I was out last fall, and we were fishing in the Sound here. We were just off of Ocracoke, and there were 4 of us in a boat. We caught 5 citation, which is over 55 inches, in 15 minutes.
Wow.
It was literally standing up on standing in the boat and just looking down. The water's 2 or 3 feet deep, of course, but it looked like a koi pond. I mean, it really did. And I'm just
Good way to describe it.
Holy cow. So we did catch one in the catch limit, in the creel limit. So it was the correct length and everything. So we did keep one, which was what we could get. And as we were leaving, the captain of the boat called all of his friends that are on the water going, listen, I'm standing on front of it. You need to come on. And they were coming in quite hard. But again, you got 5 people in the boat. You can keep one if it's the right limit, and that's it. But of course, now, is it fun to catch? Yes. It's an enormous day on the water. But again, you're regulating this. Why? Because there aren't enough there. And that's just not the case.
Right.
It's just not the case.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, local fishing reports have told me lately that there's a nice drum bite going on right now.
Yes.
It has not stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, the
stopped?
drum, no, we're catching them off the beach every day.
Yeah.
Like
See?
this time of year, you're catching speckled trout, gray trout. I mean, you'll catch occasional puppy drum. I've sat on the beach for 30 minutes and seen over 30 caught.
Holy smokes.
Just continually. They're bailing them out,
Okay. So this is, again, more examples of different things that, the science says this, but are the fishermen who are out there doing it day in, day out, they're saying, no, that's not right. This is 100% wrong, and here's why.
Yep.
So
the regulation on all that comes from state legislation.
Right.
Is that where you're going?
It's important to say,
Yeah.
it's important to note that part.
Well, and then whenever they put a regulation in place, whatever they put in, whatever amendment they approve or they put in place, it has to have a 50% chance of being successful in 3 to 5 years.
Huh.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
So the last Flounder Amendment 3, did not meet that criteria without participation from the southern states.
Interesting.
Yet we have no indication from the southern states that they are going to participate by regulating any of their fisheries. So we're basically, North Carolina is supplying Georgia and South Carolina with a wonderful flounder fishery because they're catching all they want.
Yeah. Yeah, and we
I got to reserve my comment for another time. What I would say right now would definitely not be very friendly. So, and we're family-friendly podcast here.
Yes.
and also,
informative and educational. So,
yeah. And Justin, and obviously hearing us, and it's like Mary Ellen said, once you start with your own flounder, you might as well get the soapbox out because she's so passionate about it, and as her family relies on this fishery, and very seldom do we come up and can actually say, hey, here's a piece of proposed legislation, and we actually won.
Okay.
The big one for me, and both Rachel and Mary Ellen know that this has really been my focus for the last 2 years. It came from NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They proposed, and I'm going to read this just to make sure because it's important that we know what they were trying to do. Now, this is a proposed amendment to the right whale vessel speed rule. Now, this was brought about.
Say that one. Right whale.
It was a huge
the right
thing.
whale vessel speed rule.
Speed rule.
Speed rule. Now, there are less than 370 right whales left on the planet. North Atlantic right whales left on the planet.
Okay.
Now, our fishermen, everybody in this room, we understand the need for conservation. We understand the need of sustainability of a species of fish. But what we also have to understand is the ramifications when something this big comes up. Now, to take this back just a little bit, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, NOAA did a vessel speed limit rule around major ports. So you're talking Norfolk, Boston, Baltimore, Wilmington, Charleston, Jacksonville, and everything for vessels over 65 feet. So now what we're talking about is huge container ships.
Okay.
So they're coming into port. So from 20 nautical miles out to the time you arrive in port, you cannot exceed 10 knots speed.
10 knots.
10 knots. Now, but if you're steering something that's large as a container ship, which has a steering radius of the state of Rhode Island.
Yeah, I was going to say.
There's not much you can do even if you see one. And we get that. So slow them down. And that's been for 11 years now, and we understand that. But what this did is said, we're going to put this in a rule for all vessels over 35 feet to 64 feet.
Shut the front door.
So now think about all of the recreational, all of the charter fishermen, all of the smaller head boats that would be affected by this. And I think we all realized that this is something that could literally be almost a death knell for the charter industry.
Yeah.
And also too, and if you're a recreational fisherman, getting out to 20 miles will be difficult. So we actually got ahead of this, and we contacted a lot of large law firms that handle things like this with the to stand up in court against propositions like this. And we found a couple of lawyers that were all ready to go if this passed. Now, what we found out was they asked for public comment, and almost in everything comes up as public comment. There were over 90,000 public comments on this. Now, if you break it down to the people who understand, I've got to get out there and make a living, or I want to go fishing, as opposed to the conservationists who go, listen, if one right whale dies, it's worth imposing this. Of the 90,000, it was almost 50 to 1 on we need to make sure this rule is not enacted. I want to read you just some things that could have possibly happened.
Okay.
Now, if we look at it, this would have added, and this is annually, 125,000 annual transit hours.
Holy smokes.
And that means the additional hours it takes to get out to 20 nautical miles. And then you're free to, then your speed limit can pick up. It would affect over 16,000 vessels, 810,000 jobs, and $230 billion annually in economic activity.
Holy mackerel.
Luckily, the National Marine Fisheries Service took all this consideration, and they have rescinded this proposal. Now, I got in touch with the lawyers that were going to represent us and said, okay, does this mean it's over? And I think being attorneys, they can't say you can't say it's definitely over, but it's over until something else happens. And my fear is the next conservation group, with a lot of money behind them, will sue again. But the fact that this was rescinded because of the lack of time and everything that was put into putting it in place, I think they'll have a difficult time. And I think this is something that might be behind us for a period of time.
That means one more for the good guys.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I wouldn't say one more.
Or
Just
one.
I would just say one.
One for the good guys.
But
okay.
I had to step in with a piece of good news.
Okay,
Yeah.
hey, look, that's wonderful because,
Yeah.
like you said, I mean, your statistics that you got, your figures there.
We have more good news.
Good news
I'll
from
give you good
Mary
news.
Ellen.
Here's more good news.
Let's hear it.
Sammy Corbett is now the chairman of the North Carolina Marine Fishery Commission.
Okay.
We haven't had a meeting in Dare County in 5 years, since 2018, wasn't it?
It's more like 6 or 7.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
gonna
I
say,
guess
I-
mathematically,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
6 or 7.
She's good
See?
at nails, bad at math.
I'm
Good
just
at
kidding. I was
nails.
bad at math. Anyway, Sammy Corbett, after he was put back in as chairman, has agreed to come back to Dare County and is having the next MFC meeting here in Dare County in Kitty Hawk in February.
19, 20, and 21, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, in Kitty Hawk, either at the town hall or at the pier. And I would strongly invite everyone who hears this podcast, come to the meeting. And
I was going to ask, is this
Whether
a public
even
meeting?
when-
Do
no
you have to be a
ma-
member?
No. And regardless whether you feel
No,
comfortable
no.
speaking or not, when when they see you there, whether you speak or not, you're sending a message that this matters to me. And even if you can't stay the whole time, just it's worth it to get. That's what we need. We need people to get involved.
Okay, so that good question.
And I'll say one more thing too. For Dare County, now we're in a position. The county commissioners right now are the most experienced. The current sitting county commissioners are the most experienced in fishing than we've had in as long as I've been here.
Okay.
And our experience as not just hands-on fishing experience, as well as making a living off of fishing, and now being in a position to try to work through this legislatively we're in a really good and having Sammy Corbett and
Right. So
Mike
position-
Blanton and on the commission. And then we've got Bobby Hanig and Ed Goodwin, and
you got a
really good group that has a really good understanding of the issues that face coastal North Carolina. And Sammy's brought it back. We've got to show him that we appreciate him doing that, and we do that by showing up.
Okay, so tell me those dates one more time and the dates and times.
It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, February 19, 20, and 21.
Okay.
I strongly recommend everyone, if you'll just go on NCDEQ, it'll take you right to the Marine Fisheries page, and you can look at where it's being held, the hours, the agenda, and everything else is there. And it's like Mary Ellen said, you don't need to come and speak. You don't need to have your voice heard. Just your presence at this meeting is going to speak volumes. And we heartily encourage everyone to come.
So wait a minute, give me that. Wait.
Well, you could do that, or you could go to our website, ncwu.net, where we will update that, or our Facebook, Instagram. We're putting it out there.
Rachel
Please show up
daily.
So say that now. Say that
ncwu.net is our website.
Okay.
NC Watermen United is our Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. I was on that website earlier, and I thought it was like ncwu.net. It's very, very well laid out, very navigable, very informative. Whoever designed and does those types of work is very good.
Thank you, Rachel.
At what they do.
Thank you,
Rachel does all that, and she does update it regularly. And if you want to get in touch with us, if you can message on Facebook, she sees we get those. But please,
ncwuinfo@gmail.com.
There you go. Okay.
That is our email. So.
And people can go talk to you, get more information in regards to NC Watermen United, and to maybe become a member if they desire.
Absolutely.
Tell us about the membership, Rachel.
We have we have 5 membership opportunities right now. So our corporate sponsor membership, you have the gold level, which is $1,000 for a year annually. The silver level is $750 annually, and the bronze is $500. For your corporate sponsorship, you get advertising on Facebook and Instagram. We put you on our website. You get with a link to your business, and I try to keep it updated. I try to share as much as I can, people posting stuff, and then you get some really cool merchandise as well. And then for our regular membership, it's $200 annually, and then we also have an option where you can do $18 monthly.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that one. I was looking at that one for myself. Yeah. NC Watermen's, there you are. I already follow you. How cool is that? Yes, nc.watermen, M-E-N, not Waterman, M-E-N, .united. Yes, look at this. All these photographs. Look, there's a nice picture right there. Look at that. Okay, hey, look. Oh, now that one, look at that shark. All right.
That's me holding that thresher.
Is that you?
Yep.
Look at you. You're dressed up in this picture. Look at you.
Oilskins.
You're dressed up.
That's her wedding clothes.
That's
wedding
the suit
clothes.
to go with the Wanchi's wedding slippers.
There you go. Well, I see something here about NC Watermen Foundation.
Yes, Justin, that's our philanthropic arm of the Watermen United.
Okay.
It was formed many years ago. It is a nonprofit, and the foundation doesn't have the ability to politically go after an issue. What this is to help our local community. A fisherman, just in the past year or so, we had a couple of fishermen and their families. They lost their home because of a fire. We were able to donate to the family. We've had a fisherman who's unfortunately his boat swamped about 20 miles out. We were able to donate to him to help him get a new motor.
Very cool.
In the last 12 months, we have either helped distribute from donations, or we have actually donated from the foundation in excess of $30,000.
Very cool.
Year.
We also, there's times when the foundation will also cover, if we do something educational, if we're trying to put out some educational material, like we did the photographic thing. So they do some like philanthropic where it's education and like that kind of thing too. So it's a little bit of both.
Excellent. That's a very cool program that you've got there to assist with different things of that nature. I love that. That's
now
very
that
cool.
foundation is strictly by donation.
Right.
People donate to it.
Yeah.
But none of that is used for political purposes at all.
Got it. Okay. Cool deal.
It's just as an assistance.
Excellent. Well, y'all, I appreciate you jumping on here and doing this with me. We've been talking about trying to get this podcast, up and going and doing this, and I feel like this is a very important piece, especially here in the earlier months of the year, putting it out now for people to hear and being able to participate in some of these events that are coming up, to be able to give and to give to the foundation, or not foundation, excuse me, the NC Watermen United, to help support these causes and to help continue to combat this different legislation that comes down. And it also has been a very good awareness piece for those that don't understand how difficult it is for a lot of our local watermen to provide for their families and the fishery itself, like you talked about, Mr. Woody, how it's a big trickle down effect. Like it's. I feel like this is a very important issue that needs to continue, and I applaud you three sitting here for continuing to fight the good fight and to keep these people fishing, to keep the fishery moving in the forward direction. I mean, the beautiful thing is, there's been plenty of times where y'all been knocked down, but you don't stay down. You get back up and you keep going, and that's part of the beauty of this, in a way that, like, you're not going to give up the fight. You're going to keep moving forward.
Well, and a shout out to our board too, because the
Yes.
board of directors, they meet monthly. They're in constant, they are in touch with what's going on. They're advising us on how to, giving us the information we need to be able to go after those leads or those contacts to try to make a difference.
I saw Ron Whitaker's name on the website.
Ron Whitaker, Greg Mayer.
Greg, okay.
Yep.
I know of some of these.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Captain Ernie Foster's name.
Okay, all right.
He turned into a very good friend of mine. But whenever I hear people talk about him, I've read 15 books since I've been here on fishing and the history of Hatteras Island, the history of Hatteras Village, and his family is mentioned in every book.
See?
And you got Britton Shackelford.
Jack.
You got Bobby Smith.
Okay.
Aquaculture. It's like
Yep.
James Bird.
James Bird.
And then Maurice.
Okay.
Can't forget Maurice down south.
Yeah, Maurice Davis.
Maurice
Yeah.
Davis.
His son,
We
he's down in
have,
Atlantic Beach.
Ocracoke, we have Ernie Dozier.
There you go.
In Ocracoke, we have Ernie Dozier.
Uh-huh.
And then we also have Glenn Hopkins from
Glenn.
Wanchese.
I saw Glenn this morning.
Yep.
But we, for a long time, actually, and we learned it from COVID, that we used to try to meet in person, and it got so hard to get all those guys together. And so we started doing Zoom meetings after COVID. And so now every month we get on a Zoom meeting with them, and we're all up to date and on the same page as to what's going on and what we need to do and
Very
what's
nice.
coming up
Yeah.
and how we can be as active and as possible. But we really do depend on our membership. The more members we have, the stronger we are, strength in numbers.
Amen.
So if you are inclined to do so, we would love to have you as I'm a member and I'm a nail tech.
Look at it. Nail Tech members. Look at that.
We
Look
have
at
real
that.
estate agents that are members.
See?
We have restaurants that are members.
It takes all kinds of kinds.
And you can
does.
write it off
And it's
as
a beautiful thing.
you can write it off as advertisement. 'Cause
Exactly. Absolutely.
We're gonna put you on Facebook,
Very
Instagram,
true.
and our so it's a write off.
Very true. I will say this. I've said this a few times in different podcasts since I've been doing these things. One of the, especially down here on Hatteras Island, one of the beautiful things is how well y'all pull together for common causes for certain things, and just the unity that I see throughout the communities from Rodanthe to the village. It's a beautiful thing, and I can't say it enough how well y'all are. Like, y'all are the definition of community. The definition of community in at least the state of North Carolina is Hatteras Island and Ocracoke. I'm just going to say it like it is. I mean, me being a Wanchese boy, someone's like, what about Wanchese? But you know what? Sorry. I don't even think we hold a candle sometimes to what they do on Hatteras Island. If they ran me out of Wanchese, I'm going to set up shop in your backyard, Mary Ellen.
We'll take you.
Anyway, y'all, again, I appreciate the time you've given me today. I hope that we're able to shine some light on the issues and the things that go on in the fishing world and able to bring some awareness to Watermen United and to stir the interest in that regard for people that may not have really heard or knew very little about you. So I'm hoping that we're able to do that for you today.
I think we have here this morning. And Justin, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
For making the effort to come down and letting us get on your podcast to tell everyone what we're facing. And this just this doesn't come yearly or monthly. And I think these ladies will agree with me because they've been in it so long. It's daily that we're having to deal with this. But thank you for coming down. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Anything that we can do with the podcast at Outer Banks this week or myself, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help.
We're going to schedule one in the fall, too.
Okay. Hey.
Right around flounder season. You come on down. I'll take you pound net, and I'll show you what it's all about.
We can get a power source out there on the boat. You get me all plugged up to a generator.
There we go. We'll figure it out.
We'll waterproof all my equipment, and we'll just get her done.
Yeah, there we go.
Mr. Woody.
Thank you.
Miss Rachel. Miss Mary Ellen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Justin.
When it comes to general maintenance or major modifications on your diesel vehicle, look no further than Wanchi's Off-Road Diesel Performance in Kill Devil Hills. Master mechanic Ryan Walker developed the plan for having his own auto shop over 20 years ago, and today he owns the premium diesel performance powerhouse of the Outer Banks. To have him and his crew take a look under your hood, give him a call today at 252-715-0025 or find him on social media. Wanchi's Off-Road Diesel Performance, the diesel performance powerhouse of the Outer Banks. Yes, Wanchi's Off-Road Diesel Performance, your diesel performance powerhouse of the Outer Banks. Yes, indeed. Ryan would love for you to come over and pay him a visit right there in Kill Devil Hills. Have him take a look under your hood. Again, right there online, you can go visit him on his social media pages. Just search Wanchi's Off-Road Diesel Performance. All right, let's jump into some events real quick. Again, all of our events can be found online at outerbanksthisweek.com. Click on the events tab, and you can see them all right there in their entirety. Trivia nights, local music across the board, karaoke nights, don't forget about them. Also, don't forget about local high school and middle school athletics. Go out and show those kids love and support. They would love to see you out there. I'm not talking about just here on the Outer Banks. If you're here on the Outer Banks, go to First Flight High School, middle school, same thing with Mania Middle School, and go to the Cape Hatteras Secondary School. Pay them a visit and say, hey, that's what they want you to do. They want you to come watch them play whatever respective sport that they're playing right now. I believe they're wrapping up. I think wrestling's over. I believe basketball season is on the way to being over. I think that's really about it. Swimming is, I believe, is done. Now we're getting into baseball, softball, women's soccer. This is kind of my season. I love watching high school baseball. Okay, I really do. So with all that being said, please, make an effort to go show these kids some love and support. You got trivia nights with me at McGrath's Burger Shack every Wednesday starting at 6 o'clock. I love to party. Same thing at Wanchi's Marina, but at Wanchi's Marina, it's at 6:30. Okay, keep that in mind. McGrath's is going to be doing their chili cook-off coming up here in a few weeks. It's Sunday, February 16th. It's all to benefit the Brown family. Go visit McGrath's Burger Shack on Facebook page. Just search McGrath's Burger Shack for more information on that. I'm kind of scrolling through the website. There's some live music going on at Lost Colony Tavern this Friday night. Let's see, this Saturday, Buffalo City. Oh, look at this. They're doing a chili cook-off at Buffalo City Distillery on Saturday. This Saturday, February 8th at 1 o'clock. Let's click on that real quick. It's $15 to come in. Let's see. Come out to Buffalo City Distillery for our second chili cook-off. Looking like there's a handcrafted cocktail. Tickets to taste all the chili you can for $15. Tasting and judging is from 1 to 3. Winners are going to be announced at 3:30. How about that? Who doesn't love a good chili cook-off? There's a few of them. Striper's just doing their big chili cook-off this year as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'll talk more about that in just a few moments. Harry Potter themed class with Kind Cocktails. I'll tell you, the Dare Education Foundation signature event, the dueling pianos at 108 Budley. I helped Holden from Kind Cocktails. I was his bar back. I didn't know how to mix any of them drinks. I just put ice in cups and handed it to him. And we had a great time. So he's doing a themed class. It's a Harry Potter themed class. This coming Saturday from 4 to 7 in downtown Manio. You can go to kindcocktails.com for more details on that. Oh, gosh. Again, there's so many different things that you could participate in. There's shark exhibit tours, behind the scene tours over at North Carolina Aquarium.
There are so many things with Children and Youth Partnership, the Arts Council, Trio. They're doing, look at this, Galentine's Day wine tasting. Is that what that is? At Trio, a Galentine's Day brunch, but that's on February 12th. Let's take a look here. Oh, go to Sea Chef Dockside Kitchen. Go to their Facebook page and check out the menu that they have. They're doing a select menu for Valentine's Day. They're doing that on the 14th and the 15th down there at the Oregon Fishing Center. Check them out and see what all they've got going on. I looked at their menu the other day. It's got some interesting items on it, so definitely go take a look at that and see if that's something. Make sure you make reservations for that. So you can go to Sea Chef Dockside Kitchen's Facebook page for more details. Same thing, the Captain's Table is doing a Valentine's Day dinner type thing for the Friday and Saturday of Valentine's Day weekend. That's coming up as well. You're going to want to make reservations for all of those things. So again, the Captain's Table, go check out their social media to learn more about it, as well as Sea Chef Dockside Kitchen. But yeah, Valentine's Day on the horizon. There's things going on at Red Sky Cafe. There's NC Coast is doing some things. Fire Tender. Just go online to OuterBanksThisWeek.com and take a look at all of this. And also, there's the information about the chili cook-off right there as well, forever at McGrath's Burger Shack. Again, don't want to spend a whole lot of time. You can go online to OuterBanksThisWeek.com and click on the events tab to see all the different things that are going on in their entirety. I'm going to wrap this thing up now. Again, I appreciate Mr. Woody and Miss Mary Ellen and Miss Rachel for giving me some time to talk to them about all things Watermen United that they do to help the fishing community here on the Outer Banks and just to help with, the laws and the different regulations that are being passed down. I mean, it was very, very good information that I feel like people don't understand how the fish, I loved how they went from the fishing to the fishery and what the fishery entails. It's not just the fish and the boat and the captain to the market. It's, how this affects the nets, the net makers, how this affects the restaurants, how this affects a lot of different people. The guy that drives the seafood on the truck from point A to point B. Lots of people affected here. That's the fishery. I love how they went into that. So that's a great, great opportunity. I mean, the podcast was absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed talking with them very, very much. So next week, I'm going to bring the guys from ELS OBX back in. We're going to talk about some different things that you homeowners may want to take advantage of. But I do appreciate Watermen United for being a part of the podcast. And anytime, anything I can do to help them in the future, I look forward to doing it because they're a wonderful group. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Outer Banks This Week podcast, episode 101, all brought to you by Kelly's Automotive and powered by Outer Banks Pest Control right here in Manteo. Online at kellysobxauto.com and also online at outerbanks-pestcontrol.com. I can't wait to have them in here. It's going to be a lot of fun when I do. All right, again, I'm out the door. I will see y'all again next week. Good Lord willing. And the creek don't rise. Y'all take care now. Bye-bye.
This has been another radical edition of the Outer Banks This Week podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, follow us on social media, and listen every Thursday for a new episode.